This is the lesson for April 15th, Types of Identity Theft. Identity theft is the second outcome in the Financial Literacy 7. Before we get into the types of identity theft, let's look at some statistics. In 2017, there was about 15.4 million cases of identity theft just in the United States. Of those, the losses were $16 billion. Now, that seems like a lot, but if you take the identity theft cases worldwide, it's $221 billion just in 2017. The median losses, or middle losses, were about $450 per victim. So that means that if you were a victim of identity theft in 2017, you can expect to pay out of your own pocket, $450 for each time that your identity is stolen. And according to the Federal Trade Commission, identity theft is the fastest growing crime in America. So when we talk about identity theft, we're talking about when somebody both acquires and uses someone's personal identification or their credit accounts or any other account information. Now, there is two pieces to that. Not only do they have to have it, but they have to use it. Somebody can have your identification through normal means. If you cash a check with a store, if you present your credit card at a store or make an online purchase and they have your credit card information in their database, that's not identity theft because you are willfully handing that information over to the store. But if somebody wrongfully acquires it and then turns around and tries to use it as if they were you, or to open up new bank accounts or to get a false driver's license or something like that, that's when it becomes identity theft. When we talk about identity theft, it's the use of your personal information. And here are some of the types of personal information that they can obtain. Your name, address, phone number, your social security number, driver's license number, birth date, credit card numbers, bank account numbers, and the list goes on from there. If you've ever signed up for anything online, a lot of times they'll ask for your favorite color or your pet's name or your mother's maiden name or other information like that that they use for the security questions. All of that is personal information as well. Personal information is just anything that is about you. It could be trivial or it could be really important. Now, out of all the things that are listed here, the key to your identity is your social security number. The social security number is issued by the government and it's used for things like your taxes, for any federal programs you're on, for gun permits, your voter ID, all sorts of things like that. You need to show your social security number to get a lot of these other things, like a driver's license number, or nowadays they're moving to real IDs. So it's an ID that goes just beyond your driver's license. And also credit cards and bank accounts, a lot of times they'll ask for your social security number as well. So a thief has to get more than one piece of information in order to steal your identity, but the more that they can get, the more full of a portfolio they can get on you and the easier it is for them to then open accounts in your name. Some of these things, like name, address, phone number, is as easy as a phone book. Others, they need to be able to do other things in order to get that information. So how do they do it? The rest of this video is just going to be talking about the different methods of identity theft that there are, and we're just going to cover some main methods here. There's a lot more than what we're going to talk about. The first method is probably the oldest method, and that's when they just steal it from you. They can pickpocket you, they can rob you, they can break in to your home and take it, break into your car and take it. They can go to wherever you work and go through the office and get your information from the forms you have to fill out for work. All of that stuff, they're just taking it from you. Or they could take it from your mailbox before you get your mail when you come home from work for the end of the day. So stealing personal information is probably the oldest form of ID theft, or getting your personal identification. The next type is diverting mail. For diverting mail, thieves either get online or go down to the post office and get a change of address form. And they fill out the change of address form so that your mail gets sent to a different location, a different address or post office box. And then they just go there to get your mail. Generally, this is a short-term thing because the victim will soon realize that they're not getting any mail and contact the post office, and then the post office will figure out something's wrong, and then they'll start investigating. So thieves do this short term, possibly a week or two at the most, get whatever kind of mail they can, and then they try to do it to somebody else. And whatever kinds of information they can get, they just gather that and then try other methods, like some of these other ones we're going to talk about. The next type is called dumpster diving. And just like it sounds, they go through your trash. It doesn't have to be a dumpster. It could be a normal trash can that you put out in front of your house on garbage day. It could be the trash can at your place of employment, or a dumpster at your place of employment. If you live in an apartment complex, a lot of times they have communal dumpsters where you take your trash out to the dumpster, and then once a week or twice a week, the garbage people come and clean out the dumpsters. So they could go through that as well. But they're just getting whatever information that you throw away, and then they take that and use it. So they can find practically anything from dumpster diving. They can get your name and address from magazines that you throw away. They can get account numbers from bank statements that you throw away, or credit card statements that you throw away. They can get your birth date from birthday cards that you get from your relatives and things. So there's just about every piece of personal identification that's out there, or personal information that's out there, can be gotten through dumpster diving if you're careless in what you throw away and how you throw it away. The next type is called credit card fraud. With credit card fraud, they steal your existing credit card information, either by just copying it down when you use it. If it's a cashier, and they can copy down the information, or a waiter or waitress at a restaurant that takes your credit card to some point of sale terminal in order for you to pay the bill, and then they have time to look at the card and write things down. Or sometimes they get it through other means, having a webcam over a a gas station or a gas pump, where they can then get that information, and then they can run back the camera and then zoom in and see what those numbers are. Or they could, once again, they could steal your wallet or purse from where you're working, or in your car or something. They get your card in some way, and then they use that. Generally speaking, when credit card fraud is a thing, and that's what they're doing, they'll also divert your mail so that you're not going to get the bills until later, so that they can then use that card for longer. Other times, though, they'll just steal your account number, and then they'll add it to other account numbers that they've stolen, and they'll sell it on the dark web and get their money quickly, and then somebody else is taking the risk. The next type is called skimming. With skimming, the thieves attach a hardware device called a skimmer to an ATM machine, like the picture here, or to a gas pump, or to other kiosk type of thing where you put your card in. And generally it lays over the top of the existing reader. So it reads your card, and the actual ATM machine or the gas pump also reads the card. And so that it still works, and people don't realize that their numbers are being taken. In this particular picture here, you also see that they've also got a duplicate for the key punch that records the your PIN number, and while it's doing that, it lays over the top of the regular keyboard, and then when you punch in your PIN number, it transfers that down to the real keyboard, and so that it puts the PIN number into the actual ATM. So they're getting your account information off the magnetic strip using the card skimmer, and then they're getting your PIN number with the card overlay. Sometimes they don't do the keyboard overlay. They'll just get a small web camera or something and point it at the keyboard, and then they'll look and see what you're typing in, and then go back and review those videos to see what numbers that you put in. Pretexting is just a fancy word for lying. They use false pretenses, or they lie to you to obtain your personal information. They can lie to you, or they can lie to others. They could call up the phone company. They could call up your boss. They could call up the IRS, and with enough personal information that they've got from other means, they can make the people think that they are you, and then they can then further get more information or open accounts or close accounts or do a whole lot of different stuff. But pretexting is just a form of lying. Phishing, with a PH, is a way that thieves send out fake emails, and they pretend to be somebody or a company or your internet service provider or utility company, something along those lines that already has a relationship with you. And then they say that they need to verify your account number, or they need you to click on this link to fix some kind of error that they had or something. And then in doing so, then you are giving them the information instead of interacting with the business or whoever that you think that you are interacting with. Phishing is also a fairly old means of identity theft. There's a classic scheme for phishing. It's called the Nigerian Prince scheme, because you get an email in your inbox that is supposedly from a prince of Nigeria who's having problems because they're at war, and he wants to get his $10 million out of the country before the overthrow, and he wants to put it into your bank account, and then when he makes it to the United States, then he can meet up with you and get his money back, and for your trouble, you get to keep $1 million. Generally speaking, though, the people that fall for this, they give them the account number so that they can wire the money into the account, but then they find out that this Nigerian prince is not really a Nigerian prince, and all the money that was in the account is now gone. So that's what phishing is, and it was another early form of identity theft. Spear phishing is kind of a twist on phishing. Instead of sending out a bunch of emails to just general people and seeing who replies back, spear phishing, thieves use email just like in regular phishing, but before they send out that email, they do their research on the victim or the intended victim and find out personal information and include that in the email. So instead of an email being very generic or broad in its wording and things, this one is more specific to the person they're sending it to. It might include your name in it. It might include information that they know. So if you happen to like getting your coffee from Starbucks in the morning, they might include a phrase that says, "Do you remember when we talked in Starbucks last month?" or something along those lines, because, if you're in Starbucks, you're probably talking to somebody. And so they'll use information like that in order to make it look more legitimate, and then you're more likely to click on a link or give information that you wouldn't if it was just a generic email that doesn't look like it's directed to you. So the difference between phishing and spear phishing is that phishing is a broad attack. They might send out 50,000 of the same email to a whole bunch of people. And then whoever bites, whoever replies, that's great. Spear phishing, they're not going to send out that many emails. They're going to customize that email to a single person, send that out, and then customize another email to their next victim. And so they can't send out 50,000 emails that way, but they're confident that they're going to get more people to reply because it looks more personal and more directed to them than just the generic phishing email. Next, we have search engine phishing. Search engine phishing, instead of using email, it uses search engines like Google. They create a website, a fake website, and then they customize their search engine optimization so that they get put up at the top of the phishing or of the search results. So if you type in something in Google or Bing or another search engine, then these sites a lot of times will show up above the actual site, and then you click on it thinking that it's the thing that you want, and you end up going to a fake website. So in the picture here, you can see that somebody searched for Bitcoin, Kraken Bitcoin, and the real Kraken Bitcoin site is circled in blue there. The fake phishing site is circled in red, and that is above the real site. You notice, though, that Google has said that this is an ad, which means that this fake website has paid Google to put that up at the top. And so when you're doing Google searches like that, unless you know the company, you're generally better off not clicking on those ones that are marked with ad. Find the real sites in the results farther on down. The next is smishing. Smishing is a variant of phishing, but with the advent of text messaging, instead of using email, the identity thieves use text messages. SMS stands for small message service, which is what text messages are sent through. It's a different protocol than email. And so that's why it's called smishing, because it's the small message service. And they send out text messages, and it says, like the picture here, you've won $1,000 Best Buy gift card. Click here to get yours. And then when you click on it, they send you to a fake site that then gets your personal information. So smishing is just like phishing, except that it's text messages instead of email messages. The next one is called farming. Now, with phishing and search engine phishing and with smishing, they all had links that send you to a fake website. Well, that's what farming is. Farming is when they create a fake website that's designed to look exactly like the real thing. And then they trick people into going there instead of the real site. And then when they fill out a form or something and click that submit button, they're sending their information to the identity thieves, who may or may not then forward it on to the actual site. But with a fake website, they can create a form and make it look identical, because the way the web works is that you can generally view the source of any web page and then copy them completely. Just do a Control A, Control C to select all, copy, and then paste it into a notepad document or other word processing document, and see what all that is. And then you can make your page based on that, including the pictures and everything else. And the only real clue that you have is that on a fake website, you look up here in the address bar up here at the top, and it will be something other than what you expect. Like this one here says www.spiffstar.org, and I'm pretty sure that AOL, America Online, is not going to use the Spiffstar domain to do their web hosting, since they host their own websites. So sometimes the only clue you have is that address bar up at the top. Spyware is software that's installed on your computer that spies on you. Sometimes spyware is installed along with something else. So you find this free game that you want to try, and you go through the install software, and one of the screens says, do you want to install this, that, or the other thing, whatever the program is called? And then you click yes, because you're just not reading it, and you just click through. And then you're giving your consent for it to be on there. Other times, the spyware gets installed without your consent or without your knowledge. So it doesn't show up, but you are installing this game and it just does it on its own. Or there's what are called drive-by downloads, where you're clicking on things on the internet and you think you're doing one thing, like maybe updating your virus signatures and things for your antivirus program, and it's actually installing spyware instead. Once installed, spyware keeps track of what you're doing. It'll keep track of the location of the mouse on the screen. It will have a keylogger in it that will keep track of your keystrokes and write it to a file. Spyware, if you type in something like www.google.com, it may send you to a separate website that looks like google.com. where they can then get more information. They can make it so that you get a whole lot of pop-up ads when you start going places on the browser. Now, that doesn't seem like it's a bad thing, getting pop-up ads, except that those identity thieves are getting paid by those companies every time that pop-up ad is viewed. So you're basically funding their other activities by allowing the spyware to pop up ads that you didn't ask for. The next one is hacking. Hacking is probably the one that most people know about. It's in the movies a lot and stuff like that. Hacking just means that somebody breaks into a computer system, unauthorized, breaks in and steals information. And it could be a personal computer. They find a laptop in somebody's car when they're breaking into it, and they take it and then get past the login stuff. That's hacking, or hacking into big servers, whether it be government servers or business servers and stuff like that, and get information. It's all hacking. Now, the person that does that is a hacker. It's a person who tries to break into your computer system and steal information. The next one is shoulder surfing. With shoulder surfing, just as it sounds, thieves look over your shoulder and watch what you're doing. It could be that you're sitting in a computer lab getting ready to do your typing, and somebody looks while you're logging into the computer. Or it could be that you're standing in the lunch line in the cafeteria and somebody looks over your shoulder and gets your lunch number. Both of those things are shoulder surfing. It doesn't have to be where they look over your shoulder, though. It's also shoulder surfing if they eavesdrop on your conversation when you're on the phone. So if you're walking around Walmart and you're talking on your cell phone and somebody's listening in to what you're saying and getting your half of the conversation, and you give them personal information like account numbers or other stuff like that, then that's shoulder surfing too. They're just listening instead of watching. They're both called shoulder surfing. Social engineering is the next one. With social engineering, thieves pretend to be somebody else. Your employer, your loan officer, representative of the bank, your landlord, somebody from from Walmart who wants to question a purchase that you just made, things like that. They trick a person into revealing information. Now, social engineering and pretexting are really close. The big difference with between the two is that with social engineering, the identity thief is lying to you and try to get you to reveal the information. With pretexting, the identity thief is pretending to be you to somebody else. And so it's really the direction that the lie is going. If they're lying to you, then it's social engineering. If they're lying to somebody pretending to be you, then it's pretexting. The next one is scareware. Scareware is a fairly recent thing in terms of all of these forms of identity theft. With scareware, you get this pop-up ad that says that there's a virus or there's something fishy or something going around, and then there's generally a phone number, like in this picture here, or a link that you click on where they're offering to fix it for you. But generally speaking, it's just a pop-up ad, and then they're trying to trick you into calling somebody or clicking on a link. And if you call, they're going to direct you to a website where you install the program that'll get rid of the problem, and you're actually installing the bad stuff, the malware or spyware or something along those lines, a keylogger. So scareware is just playing on your fear of being a victim, and when it actually doesn't do anything on its own. So a lot of times you'll get these pop-ups and it says you better do something, and if you click on it and close and nothing does happen, it probably was scareware. Malware is any type of software that's designed to get your information, disrupt your system, damage your system. They can make it so it doesn't work anymore. There's actually some malware out there that can overclock your processor to make it heat up and then slow down your cooling fan, and then that could actually cause a fire. So there's some pretty bad malware out there that can do some real physical damage. Uh, but most malware is just there to try to get access to your system so that they can then get the information that they want. And malware is kind of an umbrella term, all-encompassing term that covers a lot of the stuff that we've already talked about. If you look at the image here, viruses, Trojans, rootkits, worms, spyware, which we already talked about, crimeware, adware, all of that stuff is a form of malware. So malware is kind of the term that covers everything that's software. Vishing is phishing on your smartphone. Most smartphones use a protocol called voice over internet protocol, or voice over IP. And that voice over IP is a way to make voice phone calls using computer networks. And that's how smartphones work. The problem with that is that with this voice over IP protocol, thieves have been able to hack into that and send fake stuff. I'm sure that you've probably all gotten calls, if you have a smartphone, you've all gotten calls that say they're from one person and end up on the caller ID and end up being from somebody else. Some people might even get those on your landline phone, because a lot of phone companies have moved their landlines over to the digital voice over IP protocol. Um, so they can spoof caller ID. They can send different information along with the voice call to make you think that it's coming from somebody else. So it's just another way of trying to trick you into giving personal information because you think it's somebody else. So with phishing, once again, that's email. With smishing, it's text. With farming, it's websites. And with vishing, it's your smartphone. But they're all pretty much doing the same thing. The next one is a man-in-the-middle attack. Man-in-the-middle attack is that they go to somewhere where there's a public hotspot. It could be the library, it could be McDonald's, it could be anywhere where there is free Wi-Fi hotspots. And they set up their own hotspot that looks like that. So let's say that I was a identity thief and I was going to do a man-in-the-middle attack. I might go down to McDonald's, and when the Inside Eating was open, or I might go to the library and just sit around, and I might start a hotspot on my, or an internet sharing on my laptop that has the same security identifier as the free one. And then whenever somebody comes in and connects to the free Wi-Fi there, they're going to see two of them that are identical, and so they'll just pick one. And so it's chance. Half the people might be on the fake one, half the people might be on the real one. But all the ones that have the fake one, they go through the fake one, the man-in-the-middle attack is going to collect all of that data that's going through that laptop, and then they can leave and then use a program to sift through it to find usernames and passwords to banking sites or email sites or other things like that, where they can then break into those things and then get more personal information. So with a man-in-the-middle attack, they are pretending to be a free Wi-Fi hotspot when they're not. And that is it for this first lesson. Now, you need to do the activity that is in Schoology there, and the due date for that activity will be Monday, April 20th. And there's also an assessment there that you need to complete by Monday, April 20th. Thanks.